Hello and welcome to Confidently Wrong, a show by regular dudes talking with confidence about content we have no right to speak about with any kind of authority, but do it anyway. I'm Wesley Nakamura, and today I'm joined by award-winning director Brian Redondo. This is episode 212, and we react to the grisly conclusion of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I'm confident that it's going to be the best show you've ever listened to, and well, hey, if it's not, you can always ask us for a refund. Hello, gentlemen.
Gentlemen.
Welcome back. It's Confidently Wrong.
Reporting for duty.
Brian Redondo, award-winning director and editor. Hello, sir.
That is yo.
That is
yo. Soy yo.
Soy.
Sorry, that was what was in my head.
Well, welcome to the show. We are missing our third leg of our tripod here. Savon.
Yuck. I'll let the listeners guess which part of the tripod he is.
Savon was caught up in some air travel shenanigans last night, and so could not be here for this. But we will try to bring honor to his presence, his good name.
He got caught doing things in the airplane bathroom that he shouldn't have been doing, and they had to reroute the plane to Canada, and now he's stuck across the border.
Can we all get stuck in Canada? I don't think that's a punishment.
Yeah, it sounds like a reward, doesn't it? I think I would choose Vancouver over the other cities because the weather's better.
And the sushi was delicious.
And the food is great.
Whew! All right. And me and Brian have been to Vancouver together on a bros trip. And hiked up this awesome.
Just me and Wes, yeah.
We hiked up this awesome mountain and got one of the best views I've ever seen in my life. I don't know what this place is called. I'll have to look it up, but just amazing view down into a valley with this like beautiful river. It was awesome.
My memory of that hike, I have two distinct Wes memories from that hike. One is that your lung was about to like crash out of your body.
I had a cold or something, and I was feeling awful on that hike. I didn't know if I was gonna make it.
The second thing that I remember is how all the crunchy ass people who are out there trying to get their fill of nature kept side-eyeing Wes because of course he brought his portable Bluetooth speaker and was playing Eminem's latest album.
Was I?
For everybody to listen to as we were trying to hike, and people were like, this motherfucker ruining my peaceful Saturday hike. Thank you, Wes, for being that guy.
All right. You're welcome.
I suppose that's what you needed to energize your own lungs.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I remember feeling terrible. I think I was carrying a backpack with water bottles, and eventually I was like, I'm gonna need help with this. I'm not gonna make it if I carry the backpack. You gotta, it was a team effort. You guys really carried me there, with the encouragement and helping me not have to carry the water. That was
I don't think I was encouraging. I think I was also side eyeing you. It's like, Wes, what's with the music? Anyway,
all right, let's get into it. We're gonna recap our experience with the new Game of Thrones show, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. We just talked about this a few episodes, so we'll try not to rehash some of that. Go back and listen to that episode if you're interested to hear what we thought of the first two episodes. In a 6-episode series, quite a bit happens in the second, 2/3 of the show. So we wanted to just kind of give our reactions to some of the events that occurred. And we'll share Savon's thoughts as well as we go. He sent us some thoughts in written form. So, Brian, first of all, one of the major things that happens kind of in the middle of the show is Duncan Egg get into a lot of trouble. Like, oh shit.
It's a slight kerfuffle.
What did you just do? Like, you guys are idiots. Tell us what you thought about that, how it went down in your household. Was Anna like, oh my God, what is happening? Brian.
Anna, like, as she's wont to do, spoiled things for herself by looking up what happens in the books before the
No.
episodes came out, and
Why?
then was trying to refuse watching episode 5 or 4, whatever, because she was so certain the thing that she didn't want to see happen was going to happen.
Did it happen?
And what that thing is Game of Thrones happened. Like as we predicted in our previous pod, that as fun and silly and as different as Night of the Seven Kingdoms felt in those first few episodes, where they're just laying out the characters and the basic plot line,
And poop jokes and schlong
we
jokes.
we knew that the other shoe had to drop at some point, and this show was going to Game of Thrones it, and I think they delivered. And, but still not losing the kind of like the humor and the heart that the show is definitely trying to establish itself, to differentiate itself from the other Westeros series that are out there.
All right. Well, tell our listeners what you're talking about, especially if they haven't seen the show. By the way, obviously this is going to be totally spoilersy. If you don't want spoilers, go watch the episodes. They're only 30 to 45 minutes each. So Brian, what are you talking about?
It's a multi-part kerfuffle. That
is it?
That
feels like a
out.
One-part kerfuffle to me.
It spirals. Well, the first part is like we didn't know after the first 2 episodes, but we find out, I believe in episode 3 or 4, that our young squire, who looks like
Bald.
powder, Egg, our little friend Egg, turns out his nickname Egg is short for Aegon Targaryen, and he's one of the missing sons of one of the
Maekar.
Of Prince Maekar Targaryen, who it had already been established was looking for his sons, was worried about where his sons could be. Turns out, we got one of them this whole time. Egg was hiding out, as was his other brother, who we saw earlier in the season, getting himself plastered at an inn tavern. They were hiding out because they hate being Targaryens. They know that Targaryens are crazy, in particular their eldest brother, who we also get to meet, who they tell some very vicious stories about him, about like him, coming in to threaten Egg while he's sleeping at night, and like threatening to castrate him, all sorts of like crazy Targaryen Game of Thrones
just super
stuff.
Cruel. Super cruel stuff.
We only hear it, we don't even see it, and it just sounds awful. And you're like, yes, I understand why this kid would run away and shave his Targaryen like blonde white hair, just so that he could not be part of this family, which is notorious for being evil, cruel, sociopathic, what have you. And so that is the beginning of the spiral.
But how do we find out that Egg is Egg?
We find out that Egg is Egg because Egg is like, hey, this D-bag Targaryen, in parentheses, his older brother, is
forgot to mention that part. Egg
is beating up on the puppet actress who Sir Dunk has kind of got the eyes for. So
he's got the eyes.
He's got the eye. He's probably got more than just eyes. So she's doing her puppet show. She with a fake puppet dragon that gets slain, and Egg's brother goes ballistic. He's like, "Yo, this is like anti-Targaryen propaganda. We got to quash this right now." Some real like authoritarian fascist, reaction.
And
to
it wasn't
a dragon
it was
being killed.
Fairy tale about a totally different dragon that had nothing to do with Targaryens.
Yeah, but no.
Yeah,
dragons are our symbol, and if you're cutting down our symbol, that means you're anti-Targaryen, and so now we got to cut you. Which is what he was trying to do until Egg runs and gets Sir Duncan. Dunk comes in, thinking about knighthood and the like the vow of gallantry that they take, of like serving the people, protecting the weak, that sort of mindset. He comes in, damsel in distress, and kicks the shit out of the older Targaryen. What is that prince's name?
Aerion Targaryen.
Aerion Targaryen. He is like goes full force at
Kicks him
this
in the
guy. We
face.
actually,
Yeah.
and it's actually, I think, the first time we see Dunk like really take on the knight's mantle to do something that feels knightly, and it does feel pretty heroic at first, until of course he gets restrained, and now he's knee deep in it, right? Like, he has attacked a prince, and so he's probably going to get executed. And so things just really spiral out from there. Like, so those two events into the third of major event, right, is that to win his own freedom, right? Like Dunk is making the case that he was just trying to do what a knight does, right? And he saw somebody being vulnerable and being attacked and preyed on, and he stepped
But
in
it
to
turns
intervene.
out that doesn't matter in this fucked up world, because whatever
Yeah,
the prince
duh.
says goes.
Game of
Oh, and they lied
Thrones.
about it. They lied about him, right? Like, they sort of didn't lie that Egg attacked him, because Egg did attack Aerion. But also Darian lied that he kidnapped Egg. The drunk
Tyrion
brother lies
yeah.
to save his own skin, and says that, well, I didn't lose Egg. Dunk must have kidnapped him.
Yeah,
That's why he
so it
was
makes
with
it
him.
seem that like Dunk kidnapped Egg, Dunk then
Attacked
like
Aerion.
attacked
Yeah.
Arian, and so this guy's got to go. And so the only way for him to uh give him any ounce of hope of surviving and not being executed is to request a trial of 7.
Well,
Uh
he requests trial by combat.
Trial by combat. Right.
Baelor tells him, if you do trial by combat, you might, like, if you're good at fighting, you might be able to survive this, and then you would be let free. That's sort of the only way I see this. He's like, there's no way you're going to survive any kind of trial. No one is going to go against the prince and the house. Like, my nephew is going to like prevail here. You have zero chance at that. So if you have any chance of fighting, request a trial by combat. He tells him about like this loophole. And it turns out Arion's got a different loophole up his sleeve. Do you remember that?
What is his different loophole? This is
Then-
such a long time ago that we're talking about this.
Then Arion says, well, it's my right to request a trial by 7, or a trial of 7, which it turns out we've never heard of this before, but a trial of 7 just means that like you get to play pickup battlement, or pickup lance, tournament, and you get to pick 6 other people on your side, and the other guy picks six people on his side, and you battle, and whoever's side prevails. It's sort of a trial by combat, but now with 7 players instead. And so it's kind of a shitty move, because Dunk could have a chance, because he's so much bigger than Arion, to actually win. And Arion sort of hides behind, well, if I have 7 people with me, I'm betting that Dunk can't get 7 with him, and if he doesn't, then he loses automatically. He forfeits.
Because
so that
it's
was
supposed
Arion's
to
sort of
reflect
gambit.
the gods' favor, right? Like,
Yeah.
Whoever comes out on top, it's the God's will, which
Yeah.
means
It's
they
just dumb,
are,
but whatever.
they're in the right, they're righteous. So if you can't get 7, clearly the gods are against you.
Yeah. So so like this puts Dunk in a really terrible position. He doesn't have 7 friends, obviously. He hasn't been at court. He's been at this tournament for half a day at this point. No one.
Yeah, we
really
already
knows.
know that he's been turned down by basically
Yeah.
almost every night at that tournament.
They're all basically like, I don't know who you are, dude. Like, go bother somebody else. He's very low in this society and in this particular setting. So what I want to talk about, though, is that in the aftermath of this, right? So once Egg reveals that he's a Targaryen, and Dunk is in the dungeon, and then is situated with this position of, well, I'm going to have to somehow fight for my life against actually trained noblemen, and is presumably probably going to die, right? Like, in this situation, at least as far as he knows. Egg, I think Egg doesn't catch enough heat, right? Dunk is mad at him for sure when he sees him again, and he's like, that was what you did was like wrong, and you lied to me that you were a Targaryen. But the show doesn't show, and this makes sense, right? Is that like Aeg is a prince, and there's no real consequence for him for breaching his I don't know, whatever friendship with Duncan. Well, what he did was he set up Dunk against Aryen, knowing full well that Aryen was going to be a prince, and knowing full well that Dunk had no shot at doing anything of consequence here, and it could only go badly. Aryen, like, Aeg is not an idiot. Aeg is young, but he's not an idiot, and he would know that like if Dunk hurt his brother, that Dunk would be in trouble, and he doesn't care. All he cares about is, I hate my brother and I want him to die, and here's an opportunity for Dunk to help me out on this.
You think he's trying to get his brother killed?
I think so. And if not, he might have been trying to help save Tanzel in some amount of like
Tanzel's
noble idea. Yeah. And he might have been wanting to save her, which is, fine. But instead of saying, I'm also a Targaryen and I command you to stop or whatever, or arguing against his brother who's, whatever, he goes and gets Dunk to fight his battle for him. And Dunk has no standing. Aeg is well aware of this, and it sets Dunk up to fail and be in mortal danger. It's not just like, oh, like, I need Dunk's help. It's like, I'm going to set you up, bro, for something you don't even know what you're walking into. You have no plan. There's no way for you to like avoid this. And now, like, his wish to like harm his brother, his wish to like do whatever and not be seen as a Targaryen in this moment, or not to have his like identity spoiled, means that he put Dunk in harm's way because he didn't care. He wasn't thinking about like Dunk, right? Because he's a kid, because he's a Targaryen and a prince. Like, there's no way for him. He did not foresee the outcome, or he didn't care about the outcome either way, right?
Well, I think you're giving Aeg a little too much credit. Trying to like orchestrate the beatdown of his brother. I actually don't think that's what happened. He is a kid.
Yeah,
right?
But how does he stop Dunk from getting murdered right there?
He gets Dunk to come in as like the adult in the room that he knows, right? To just do something.
Yeah.
I don't think he's saying like, hey, Dunk, go kick the shit out of my brother. Like, go like do your best to kill my brother so I'm like rid of a problem. I don't think it's a mob boss situation. I do think it is a small kid who's vulnerable, doesn't have a lot of options there. Of course, he doesn't want to reveal who he is, right? Like, because he's scared, and rightfully so. And so he gets the adult in the room. Well, he gets the adult that's outside of the room to come into the room.
Yeah.
And hoping for something. And actually, Aeg is the person who saves Dunk's life in that case, right? Like, by revealing himself is the only way to get Dunk from getting to save him from getting killed on the spot.
But then he could have done that from the beginning.
He's got to get credit. He's got to get credit for that. Well, he's scared, man. He's scared of his brother who put a knife between his legs while he's trying to sleep. Like, and as we have seen Aryen like throughout the season, like, that guy is an off the handle, scary, typical Targaryen dude. Like, he's like Daemon. He is like the eye patch kid. He's like Daenerys to some degree, right? And that kind of person strikes a lot of fear. Yeah. See, season 8.5 Daenerys, right? Like, or just like those last 2 episodes where she just like went, basket
totally
case for no reason. Yeah. So I think we gotta give Aeg a little bit of grace there. Like, he is a kid. Yes, he is smart and whatnot, but I don't think he's trying to like orchestrate, some grand plan to, just save his own skin. He is, he's acting impulsively, sure.
Yeah.
But he also, he also stands up for his knight. Which he didn't have to do. He could have actually just fled into the night. and gotten away. And if ultimately his true aim was to be free of the Targaryen family, like, he should have just left.
Yeah, I think my problem a little bit with like how they built that up or whatever is just that like Egg suffers no consequences after that, and Dunk takes all the consequences. And I mean, that's
And
how it works
that's Game
because
of Thrones.
that's how it works because he's a royal prince, you know. But like, I think that just like it's super fucked up that even Egg at 9 years old can use someone he supposedly cares about or has some kind of connection to, you know, has built a little bit of a relationship with, and it's just like you're cannon fodder, right? Like, and even if it's like, well, he's 9 and he was impulsive and whatever, it's like those things still don't touch Egg, right? Like he never gets told like what you did was wrong. His uncle doesn't say what you did was wrong. Nobody says like that was
Okay.
fucked up, right? Like
Yeah,
there's
he's a prince, man. He's a
and
Targaryen.
but even Dunk like just forgives him. Dunk is like, all right, whatever. Like at some point he was like, you know, it's not your fault, whatever. And it's like, no, it is your fault. Like you didn't tell Dunk that like your brother is the person that's hurting him, and like, you know, you've got to figure like a different way to do this than like kicking the
Dunk
shit out of him.
didn't Dunk did not have to beat the shit out of a prince who was clearly a prince, right? Like, it was clear that that is, Prince Aerion Targaryen. Dunk definitely did not have to do that.
Yeah,
Right?
I
So
don't know if
that
Dunk
is of his
I
own
don't know if
accord.
Dunk knows. I guess he does know, right? He saw him in the lance, the joust
Oh
or
yeah,
something.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, he saw him in the helmet. He knows. He knows. Like, he had rage in his eyes. He too got very impulsive in that moment. Like, you
Yeah.
know, you do not, sometimes you do not need to step in front of like the cop's gun, right, to like save somebody else. Like, it would be nice,
Yeah.
or like to play a hero, but yeah, like he himself like jumped into the fire.
He
uh
did. But like as he
and
says,
I
right?
think
Like
like you railing against the bad parenting that's going on around a prince. Like, why did no one berate this kid and send him to a timeout? Like, come on, man, this is Game of Thrones. Like,
they
of
rewarded
course,
him.
of
They
course he's
rewarded
gonna get
him.
away with it because they're the royal family. Like,
Yeah.
they're gonna deal with it internally. They're gonna be like, okay, now you don't get a dragon for another year. Like, that's what happens.
but like what bothers me is that Dunk is so quick to just be like, well, that's fine. We're
He's an
still buddies.
idiot, man.
We're still buddies. And it's
He's an
like,
idiot.
dude,
Of course
like
he's like that.
this kid threw you under the bus as soon as he could, and like, you know, I know he doesn't have real power within his family because he's 9, right? But or 10 or 12 or however he's supposed to be. It's just like it's frustrating that it's like if I was in Dunk's shoes, I'd be like, yo, get the fuck out of my face. Like, I don't care that you're a kid. You used me, and I'm the one who's going to die for this. You get no consequences whatsoever. In fact, you get the honor of being the cupbearer to the next king of Westeros. That's your honor. Is like you get to be in on all the conversations that he's having, you know, with I don't know, whatever state matters of state. And like that's a big honor, I guess, in Westeros is to be the cupbearer. And it's just like, I don't know. To me, that's I would be pissed if I was Dunk because like there's no way for him to get out of the situation now that basically Egg put him in. And Egg, if he had told him, I'm a prince, right? Like Dunk could have made different calculations here. And Egg could have also done different things, you know, to save him before that.
I do not know what we are griping about here, Wes. Like, these characters do not abide by your moral compass.
All right. So that gets us into the Trial of Seven, which ends up being pretty notable in the sense that instead of seeing a big joust like we saw in episode 1, we actually get a very POV, like a video game style recount of this Trial of Seven, in which we really just see Dunk's point of view through the helmet and how he's fighting against Aerion, and kind of a very sloppy, more true to life kind of one-on-one slugfest battle that's going on. And Dunk ends up besting Aerion eventually, and ends up ending the combat by getting Aerion to concede that he withdraws his accusation in front of everybody. Oh, sorry. I guess the one major thing that happened right before that was Baylor, actually, the next king of Westeros, volunteers to be in Dunk's 7 because he doesn't have a 7th person, because his one of his guys actually switched sides, because he got promised some land or a castle or something by Arlen, which
And
is like
Baylor
fucked
was
up.
like the noble, like,
Yeah.
they're like the whole season they're just setting this up for this guy. He seems to be a
He's too
very
good to be true.
reasonable
Yeah.
leader, very noble. He kind of likes Dunk. He's like into the idea of knights being, virtuous.
Yeah.
Of course, he's gonna die.
We know
in the
what
worst
happens
way.
to those guys. Yeah.
In the worst way. Ned Stark looking at you.
So, unfortunately, in the trial, at the very end of that episode, I don't think it's episode 5, there's a cliffhanger at the end, which is Baylor shows up at the end of the battle, is still walking, and congratulates Dunk on surviving, and says, "Hey, I need people like you. I need good knights. You can be part of my retinue for whatever. You have a place here in this kingdom at this level." But that is short lived, because Baylor takes his helmet off.
Baylor is short lived.
Yeah, and it turns out that Baylor is missing part of his head.
He's missing like half his head.
A full
it is
chunk
bashed in.
Yeah, is just been collapsed in, and he is just surviving on shock and adrenaline. And now that the battle is over, he collapses and dies immediately. And we are left with, obviously that's going to be a crisis of the throne, because now there's going to be a different succession that's going to happen. So anyways, Baylor, he basically goes into a concussion protocol and never gets out. And that I really like that battle, though.
There was no blue tent on the sideline, though.
There wasn't. He was in, but he was in a tunnel. He went to get some privacy.
Yeah, he's in the locker room.
Yeah. But what I did like that battle, because it was it had the risk of being the same as the first joust, because it's kind of a massive battle on the same battlefield, tournament field. And instead of doing kind of the actiony Born Identity kind of stuff, they really leaned into how brutal this fight is and how tiring it is to fight in full armor, against a really well-trained knight, as Arlen would be. And I don't know, I really like that kind of, you get to see like how hard it is, and then we get these flashbacks into Sir Arlen. But I don't know, Brian, what do you think of the fight? Maybe even the flashbacks we get with Arlen.
Yeah, I mean, like, to your point, they really show a very different perspective of the fight, right? Like the joust that we saw is from the eyes of Dunk and Egg on the sidelines. As an audience watching this thrilling spectacle, of course, it's also intimidating to them, right? Like horses zooming by, lances crashing and bursting.
And the incredible skill that all of these people are showing on the battle, on this tournament field.
But very like high speed, like high adrenaline sort of situation. And then they take us into the Trial of 7, and it's kind of the inverse of that, right? Like we're getting a perspective from Dunk through the visor of his helmet, of his in his suit of armor, is very heavy. He's plotting. Like things are happening around him. There's like, of course it's 7-on-7 fighting.
Yeah.
And there's a whole mess of brutality happening around him that we don't really see, because he can't see it. Right. And he's just facing this head to head with Arlen. That is, as you said, a brutal slugfest where, you can feel the weight of his armor weighing down every sword swing, and then like with each hit, with each pummel that Dunk is absorbing, right? Like he's getting slower, he's in more pain, he's gotta will himself to even survive, to continue breathing. It feels like, and you feel the weight of that during the entire fight. And it's just so like engrossing and jarring and like upsetting and really dire, honestly. And you're like, wow, like medieval combat never find yourself in that situation. I mean, like, combat
Yeah.
generally probably not fun. This version of combat, like the least fun that you could possibly imagine. Just like so brutal. But what I think the episode also does a great job at is combining that with a flashback story
Mm.
for Sir Dunk himself. Like him just being basically like a peasant hustler in like the back alleys of King's Landing.
Yeah, he's raising himself
with
basically.
with another girl who I guess he's like in love with, but they're both
But more
just
as a
living on the
sister.
street. um
I didn't think it was romantic. I mean, they're kids.
was it not
They
was
fought.
it not romantic? I
I
thought
don't
it
think
was
so. I think it
romantic.
was more like a sister-brother situation.
It's she's definitely the one in charge in that
Yeah.
dynamic. Like he's an idiot. She's got all the schemes, and trying to help both of them survive. And of course, they have a run-in with a nasty person that you would find in the underbelly of a city. And she gets her I think she gets her throat slit. Is that right? She dies.
Yeah.
She gets killed. um and of course.
It's actually a gold cloak. It's one of the like city watch guards in King's Landing who was just like sort of in Flea Bottom and just like causing havoc and abusing people. And she kind of pisses him off by like stealing his flask, and he gets her back by slitting her throat.
Yeah, and Dunk is, of course, he's upset. He wants to fight back. He's like kind of not really able to at that time. And
I mean, he's young. Yeah.
and Sir Arlen of
Dun, dun,
Pennytree
dun, dun.
comes in and saves the day. Well, I mean, to some degree, right? Like
Avenges, at least. Yeah.
he avenges the death of Dunk's friend and sister, lover, person, whoever that is.
I think it's just sister.
And so like I think that juxtaposition is actually like really helpful, right? Because
It's so
it
good.
tells you
Yeah.
so much about who he is as a character, right? Like he's somebody who's had nothing his entire life, knows very little, and has had things taken away from him. And it shows just why he's so enamored and how much he admires Sir Arlen of Pennytree, even though like most people write this guy off. Like to Sir Dunk, like that's his hero. That
Yeah.
is the epitome of heroism, right? Like this guy came in out of nowhere and saved the day, saved his life, gave helped this young beggar out basically. And that is the model for Dunk. And it is because of that gives Dunk the will to actually carry out himself through the trial of 7, right? To like get up and continue to fight, because he does have some sense of morals, and justice, for himself, that is defined by what happened in Flea Bottom. And so I think getting to see that, again, it is just like one of those things that helps uplift him as a character, gets us to understand his point of view and like what is driving him. And then we get to see it in action, right? Like he finally bests Arian, and also is smart enough and has the presence of mind to know that he's got to get Arian to actually say that Arian is giving up, and announcing that to the entire audience so that they can hear it, right? Because like part of watching that, you think like, oh no, he's gonna accept this tap out from Arian, but then Arian's just gonna get up and like stab him in the back. So he
drags
like,
him by the feet
yeah,
across the field.
he like tell the people, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's like an important moment that that really says a lot about his character and what he's been through, basically.
Yeah.
Right? Like he is somebody who has been victimized by
Those in
King's
power.
Landing royalty, and people in power. And like often those people in Westeros do not come out on top. But he does. He does for at least this one moment.
Yeah. I really like that moment that or not the moment, that scene and that episode because, a fight scene could just be a fight scene just because it's brutal and whatever, but I love that you pointed out that we get this extra layer of we learn more about Dunk and the fight and the way that it happens and the way it plays out actually teaches us a lot about who Dunk is, and it's his moment for he's becoming more of the knight and more of the like less of the imposter that he was in the first part of the episode or first part of the season. And this is his moment to actually step into Sir Arlen. Like he's imagining what Sir Arlen would tell him. And it's like, get up. You have to like fight your battle. You cannot give up like in this moment. And to him, this is what Sir Arlen would have said. And we learn that, like you said, he holds him in such high regard because of his behavior, because of his honor and his values. And that's what sort of propels him to actually continue this fight and to not give up in this moment against someone who should be a superior fighter to him, given all of the training that Aryan would have had according to the show. So I thought it was such a great way that they executed this particular battle scene. I had a friend text me like, I hope they go back to the battle, like we're not just getting flashback. And it's like yeah, they use the flashback and they use those moments to inform us about what's going through Dunk's experience in his mind and what's going to help him kind of level up, so to speak, as a character here. It was, I don't know, it was really good. And especially after, right, he starts the trial by asking for someone to help him, and all of the knights,
everyone laughs at him.
Yeah, all of these nobles are like,
yeah.
I'm not putting my life on the line for you, person I don't know. It doesn't matter that you were in the right. They don't even care if he was in the right. Right.
Yeah,
Like
they just want to show. Honestly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he becomes so disillusioned, I think, in that moment with the whole system and his place in it. And I think he's also starting to realize why maybe Sir Arlen never tried to become part of that world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That maybe Sir Arlen actually chose sort of his life of what do you call it when you don't have a lot of money? His life of
being a hedge knight.
Yeah, it's not poverty, but just kind of what a Spartan life.
He's like so a vagrant.
Yeah.
Right.
But
yeah, he's an outsider by choice because as you said, like the knights and the nobles aren't actually noble at all.
Right. And so maybe he chooses not to be part of that world, right? And so I like all of the things that you sort of learn in this episode that isn't just a battle. The battle is incredible, but you get so much more out of this because of the way that they built in these flashbacks and these other pieces and him having to like find his inner strength as well and do that. So I don't know. I just thought there was a super well done episode.
And that's how Dunk is victorious in the end, right? It's not through skill, right? Like what was also interesting is that he's not this like excellent swordsman. Like it wasn't like this huge reveal where like, damn, like suddenly he's like Jason Bourne with a sword, right? It wasn't that at all. No. He was just using his size and his brute force to pummel another guy just like an inch more than he had been pummeled himself.
Yeah.
And all of that was about his inner will, his will to get that done. And I think that is the defining characteristic for how Dunk views knighthood generally, right? It's not about the, it's not about the being somewhat of a noble. It's not about like the sleek weaponry and how you wield those things and having, these elite skills that a knight would have. It really is completely about virtue. And that virtue for him and also includes, this work ethic of just willing yourself to the finish line of doing the deed of what needs to be done. And in this case, it's besting Aryan and proving that he did nothing wrong.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like it's also like by him continuing to fight, he's standing up for what is right.
Yeah.
right? If he gives up now, he's giving up on the idea that he was acting like in defense of somebody else, and he can't do that because he's someone who believes in that, to his core at this point. And we learn why. It's because Sir Arlen also believed in that. And we see that. And I think in the previous time we talked about Sir Arlen, I had said like he maybe doesn't seem like he's actually uh doesn't seem like he's actually that good of a knight. Like maybe Dunk has rose-colored glasses about it, or is just lying to himself. But we actually learned that no, like Sir Arlen actually, despite not being a top level knight in terms of status, he is a fairly decent fighter, and he's also someone who stayed true to like this vow that the knights take in this story. In every decision that he made, and to him, or to Dunk, that's sort of what it means to be a knight, and that's how the world should run. And he doesn't want to give up on that dream, because that would mean giving up on Sir Arlen, right? That would mean giving up on his friend Rafe. um and that's why he has to like stand up and go again, and try and figure out a way through it. So just, I don't know, I think that episode was just like really, 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 really well done. And then obviously we get the cliffhanger
And
of
the jaw drop.
yeah. Baylor's head is missing, and like, oh shit, like it just
Yeah.
can't go right for us, can it? We can't have nice things. So anyways, I don't know, I think by the end, the last episode is kind of a wrap-up episode, and it really ends with Egg running away with Dunk. There's some stuff around, like, Makar.
There's some stuff in
There
between.
is some stuff, but we're running out of time, and I just wanted to kind of get to the point of like Makar does not want. He talks with Dunk about like maybe being a knight and letting Egg squire with him, but in either Storm's End or Dragonstone, wherever they live, he would get training. He'd be on this elite level. He'd obviously be in the protection of the Targaryens. Dunk turns him down. He kind of sees through this like charade of the Targaryens at this point, and is like, no, like, you can't offer me a job when you just tried to kill me. Like, no thanks. Like, peace out. I'm good. And at the very end of that episode, Egg comes and finds Dunk and says like, hey, like, my dad said he changed his mind. Well, he didn't say he changed his mind. He said, my dad said I could squire with you, and we'll go on the road and do it how you imagine. And this, from YouTube, it sounds like this is what provides Egg with his experience with the common people, and ends up making him into a good king, I guess, later on. Is what it sounds
Spoiler.
like. Yeah, spoilers. But anyways, Brian, you wanted to talk about something that was a little bit different here. What did you sort of catch?
Well, I mean, the key thing there, right, is that Egg runs out to find Dunk and says like, okay, my dad consents to this.
Yeah.
Which, after I believe there's a title card, we actually see that Egg's dad comes out and he's looking for Egg. He's like, where the F did this kid go? He ran away again. So clearly consent was not given, right? Like Egg is running of his own accord to squire for Dunk and go on, whatever adventures lay before them. That is different, from my understanding, from the way it was written in the novella, where it is, it is just like an agreed upon thing. Like Dunk's going to squire Egg and they're going to go off. In this version, for the show, they're basically setting us up for future seasons of Night in the Seven Kingdoms. Or is it Night of the Nine Kingdoms now? Who knows? So basically, it seems like now we're going to have a bit of conflict here, because Egg's dad is going to be looking for Egg. And that means some of these characters are going to come back into future seasons of Night of the Seven Kingdoms, where that's not true in the series of books that feature Dunk and Egg, right?
Oh, okay.
Each novella is very much of a standalone adventure for these two main characters, and every other character around them is different. The setting's entirely different, and the adventure that they find themselves in is very different. But in this case, now we actually have this through line, which is, of course, the search for Egg, and probably the consequences that are going to befall Dunk um again, right? Like because of Egg's actions, because of, this impulsiveness, because of, his childishness, and his need to just escape the Targaryen household, right? Like all of that is going to come back on to Dunk eventually. Like they might see him as a kidnapper, right? And treat him as a kidnapper, rather than thinking Egg had, any of his own free will to be able to go and do that. So what will the consequences be for someone like Dunk? Especially, they might find themselves off into, the far edges of Westeros, in some other type of conflict, and then that conflict suddenly gets compounded by the fact that, maybe Aryen shows up as the as the U.S. Marshal chasing the fugitive or something like that. And so
Yeah.
like this conflict is just going to escalate probably in future seasons of Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah. I think you're right, and that's probably where it's gonna go. I was just thinking, like, doesn't Makar know his son at all? Like, why wouldn't you assume that Egg just ran away? He already did it. Like, and like Dunk clearly told you he was leaving. Like, he wasn't trying to kidnap him. He was like, "No, I'm good. Like, keep your prince here. Whatever you want to do
Well,
is you." But
he did make the
right?
offer, right? He was like, "I will take
Yeah.
Egg if you agree that
Yeah.
like we're gonna do the Hedge Knight thing instead of
Yeah.
being in Dragonstone."
Yeah, but he didn't say I'm going to kidnap. You know what I'm saying? Like, he made it clear that like it was up to Makar. I don't know why. I mean, I agree with you that that's how they're going to interpret it, but it it sort of bends the reality of like, well,
Well, I
wouldn't
think
they
like
know Egg is kind of a runaway? Like,
I feel like with
and
Aryen in the mix, right? Like they will say like they will use like this idea of Dunk being a kidnapper to justify anything that Aryen wants to do to Dunk.
maybe
I think
I
it's
I could
probably
see it
more of that,
also.
right?
Okay, I could also see it being like Makar knowing that Egg is running away and then sending Aryen or Darren to go get him. Right, and now Aryen wants his revenge or something like that. Like that could
Yeah.
also happen.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't have to be that they think that Dunk kidnapped him. And which is where I would hope they would go. I hope they understand like Egg is just kind of impetuous at this point. Like, he did see him try to kill his brother. Like the dad caught him trying to like take a
Yeah.
knife to his brother while he's
Approach.
recovering.
Yeah. Or
You know.
maybe he wasn't going to kill him. Maybe he was just going to castrate him. And so he'd have the sister he always wanted or something.
Yeah, so dad knows that Egg has a problem with Aryen and wants to be away from him. So I feel like it would make more sense to me as a viewer if it was like dad understands that Egg left because Egg leaves the situation, wants to leave, and that now they're gonna go try and track him
But
down.
he's still gonna be angry. We're like, even if
Oh
he
yeah.
knows that Egg did something like that, wouldn't you be upset at the adult? Right? Like if your kid
Yeah,
went off and did this bad thing, you're still gonna blame the
yeah.
adult that's enabling it.
You're like, why would you take my kid? Like, make a better
I
decision.
clearly
here, dude.
didn't
Like,
want you to do that.
yeah,
You,
exactly.
yeah.
You knew when we talked. We said, and you believed a 9-year-old over what I said. Like, what are you doing here?
Now your head's
for sure.
on a spike.
Yeah, that could go badly for them. Did you want to talk about the music choices? It's interesting what they did at the very end there.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it was the last episode.
Yeah, it's
that
clearly
they went
something they wanted you to.
anachronistic.
Yeah, they really wanted you to think about it.
They went with the jazz music. They went with I actually think it's the sax player Kenny Dorham, and like it's sort of it's really out of place, like something you would see in a show about New York City, maybe in the 20th century, but not in a show that's medievally set. And this is probably the first time I'm almost positive it's the absolute first time any of the Game of Thrones series has done something like this, where they go away from the the strings and more orchestral type music that would feel more appropriate for a medieval set show, and went with a needle drop that's anachronistic. but I think it does something interesting in this show because one, it's again telling the audience, just like the poop joke, in the very very first episode, in the very first scene, right? Like that this is not the same as those other two shows that you're thinking of. We're like breaking away from precedent and trying to show something different. And I think in this case, what it did tell me, like, I think the way that it was useful, because of the jaw drop at the end of episode 5 that Baylor dies, we come back to Dunk and they're playing the jazz music, this kind of like, it's sort of melancholy, but there's a little bit of whimsy in jazz, and using it in this scenario, in this use case, gives it a little bit of that. And I think that's what it does for the episode. It brings us back to Dunk's perspective and to like assure us that, okay, like the really bad thing happened already, but now we're going to go into this epilogue where it's not so dire and cutthroat anymore, right? It's sort of like, oh yeah, it is melancholy, but the story's moving on. The story's moving on. Unlike other series in Game of Thrones where, like, the Red Wedding happens and things are only escalate from there.
Yeah.
Right. That is not the case for
It's not a
Seven
virtuous
Kingdoms.
spiral. It's like a death spiral of
Yeah, yeah,
of,
exactly.
of vengeance,
Exactly. This
revenge.
is like this awful thing happened, but now this chapter in the lives of Dunk and Egg is coming to a close.
I see. Okay.
I think the music served us well in that regard, and it basically sets a different tone for the series, right? Like this series can be comedic, it can go sad and like kind of dark. You're gonna get these crazy action sequences, but at the end of the day, it comes back to the perspective of Dunk, right? And his perspective is going to be one that's filled with heart, and emotion, but like not in a sappy or saccharine way, but more so in a playful way. And I think that was brought out by the music, right?
Yeah.
And then again, I think later in the episode they use another anachronistic song, which I think is like a country song, right? That starts playing. I saw a video about it. It's like about like coal miners or something like that, but they like used it for Dunk. Yeah, just to give a different vibe, right? Like, and I think that was more of a Western vibe. So yeah, they're giving us different flavors, and I'm kind of hopeful to see what else they can do with that in future seasons of this show. I think it adds a nice little wrinkle where you're like, oh yeah, they're getting creative with this format. Because one thing I don't want to happen is that the showrunners of this particular strand of Game of Thrones get complacent and start just thinking they need to rehash what happens in those other series, or the style that happens in those other series. Like, this should continue to be its own thing, and I think it works best because of that.
I could see that definitely. I thought, and I guess I'll just use Savon's kind of thoughts on this one, because I didn't feel super strongly about the music either way, but what I did sort of feel a little bit was, and this is what Savon says, he said like he liked that the music choice was ambitious, but in some ways it didn't work for Savon because he felt like we're getting this more contemporary, American music that is in a set in, or is that is being used in a show that is kind of in a medieval type of era, very, like he called it pre-industrial era. And so in some ways it's like very jarring and kind of takes you out of the situation. And unless you're doing something like A Knight's Tale where it's start to finish going to be in that, sort of a modern take on it, then, it sort of doesn't match with the feel and the authenticity that you've been sort of trying to build throughout the show.
I don't think that they've been going for authenticity though, right? Like I think that's what the show's been telling us the whole time, like with the poop joke, right? It's just like this is not necessarily a show about authenticity and trying to stay grounded and authentic to.
Yeah, maybe it's not grounded all the time, but it is grounded in the sense that like the way that they fight is very
Yeah,
brutal. It's
sure.
not fancy, showy. We're not doing wire work here, right? Like all of it is sort of grounded in this like brutality of this world and the difficulty of this world, right? And the way that they'd have to live their lives, and even pooping outside is part of like that world.
But the difficulty isn't the center of the show. I think
No.
it is like one of the qualities of the show, but the center of the show to me is like this heart and humor.
Gotcha.
And so just like think about the poop joke, think about the dance scene, right, that happens with Baratheon, right, like, and how like zany that felt, right, like all these things I think are indicators that the show is something else. And to me, that's where like the anachronistic music comes into play. It's like, oh yeah, they want to remind you that this is a tale, right? Kind of like A Knight's Tale, right? Like this is just like, kind of a less dire, serious story that we're trying to tell, right? Like that's all of those trappings are, can come into play, but they're not the main course here.
That's fair. All right. I feel that. I feel remiss in that we didn't include a lot of Savon's thoughts here. So we'll just throw them here at the end as an appendix. Savon wanted to make sure that he pointed out that keeping Dunk's point of view was really important.
Why does he get a say when he doesn't show up? Come on, what is this?
Because he took the time to send us
he is actually
thoughts.
Phoning this in right now.
He did phone it in, literally through text message.
What if he was never at the airport? He is full of shit. He's like in his boxers on his couch right now, like
only you would think that's
and playing Street Fighter 6.
Only you would think that's what someone would do. The cynicism from you, Brian, I am shocked. And he liked that instead of doing the 7-on-7 as sort of you would think that they would do because it's the last battle, they want to make it epic, that they actually did just show us Dunk's point of view and made that work in a really great way. He agreed with us that the characterization of Arlen through these flashbacks in that episode were like, just chef's kiss. And then the other thing that he wanted to talk about was, he just liked that we get to focus on Dunk and Egg throughout the episodes more or less, and not get too far into like all these other characters. Kind of kept the story moving and tight and energized. And I agree with that it wasn't this rambling story where we're getting like this and that and blah, blah. It's sort of the opposite of what we talked about with Fallout in one of our recent episodes that,
which Savon would disagree with.
Yeah, so he's disagreeing with himself a little bit here. Stay consistent, Savon.
But yeah, I mean, they think we still get a lot with a little, right? Like 30-minute episodes. There's only 6 episodes. We're mostly with the 2 main characters, and yet, like, I feel like the world that we just spent the time in was vast and big.
Yeah. Well, the world. Okay.
And
given that the setting is all one tournament.
I mean, we also have like an understanding of who Targaryens are and what's going on in Westeros. But like, we meet a lot of different people, right? Like a huge cast, Baratheons, the Apple people that we haven't spent a lot of time talking about, right? Yeah. Like, the puppeteers, like Sir Arlen's like travails.
Have we seen puppeteers at all in Game of Thrones? I don't think that's.
If we have, not like this. Those were some magnificent puppets. Jim Henson would be proud.
He would. It was really cool. All right. I about that. So, and then Savon also wanted to point out that we didn't talk about this, which was that final shot of Sir Arlen, his ghost walking away from Duncan Egg at the very end. That Dunk no longer needs Sir Arlen to be his guide. Now Dunk can be his own guide, and his job now is to take over and show Egg the ways of being honorable and teach him the values of hard work and being a knight and things like that. Savon really thought that was beautiful. I thought that was good. And
I forgot that even happened.
Oh, did you? But did you clock it as sort of a symbolic, like a ghost kind of idea, or like a metaphor idea of Sir Arlen kind of now able to like go his own way, right? Like, we talk about like in the lore of ghosts, sometimes it's like they have unfinished business and that's why they hang around. And once they've like done it, and once they've had their closure, now they can go pass on to the afterlife. I think
it's
that's
like
sort of like
Star Wars.
Yeah, a little bit.
Go on, do your thing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like that's sort of what they're going with. I thought that was a nice visual imagery of the idea that Dunk is ready to be alone, or to be an adult, to be like his own person now. He doesn't need Sir Arlen to guide him as much anymore. Even if like his teachings are with him now, rather than needing Sir Arlen like literally to tell him, to do things. So yeah, I don't know. I did like that kind of like ending shot that they gave us.
So
rating?
Did we we got everything on Savon's bingo card?
Most of it. Yeah, most of it. Top tier casting, he said. Dunk, Egg, and all the Targaryens were awesome. And I agree with that. I think they all did a great job.
I agree. I agree.
I hated Aerion in all the right ways,
I'd be sad if that Baratheon guy doesn't come back in future seasons.
He was awesome.
He was pretty great. Yeah, but who knows? Who knows what they have in store for us? And how they might.
Yeah, they could have totally introduced a whole new set, and like all those characters are gone, because they were only in one place because of the tournament. Exactly. All right. Rating overall, season 1.
I would give it an 88 out of 100 nights.
Nice. I'm going 4.5 out of 5 throat slits. Excellent work.
Yikes.
I think
that at a wedding or somewhere else?
I thought they did a great job of showing like the brutality, the violence, and giving us something to root for, someone to like, and just kind of a nice self-contained show. I think especially in contrast to House of the Dragon, this show to me is much more my speed. I like that there was able to incorporate some humor. There were some fanciful characters, but the story was like had gravity and had weight to it. It didn't have to be about taking over the world or destroying the world. It was literally about one man's life in the balance in a trial, which obviously is important. And they made a great job of doing. They did a great job of making us care about Dunk. So I don't know. I thought it was really good. I think if you haven't watched it, go watch it. There's a lot in it. It's also a fast watch, and when we're all busy, it's a nice show to be able to say I sunk my teeth into it. I got a lot out of it. There's a lot of bang for your buck here in this show.
Oh yeah, I love getting bang for bucks. Wait, no, oops, I shouldn't say that.
All right, friends. On our next show, I don't know what we're going to talk about. Hail Mary is coming out pretty soon, but I don't think it's going to be out by the time we record next. We might do a segment called WTF with Wes, or what the heck with Wes.
That's every segment.
What did Savon call it? What are you watching with Wes? Something like that, or why would you watch it with Wes? I don't know.
Why are you so hung up on no one punishing Egg? Why? Who is this angry parent over here? Do you tell other people how to like rear their kids when you see them?
I do not.
Kids like throwing a tantrum at the shopping mall.
I do not. Much respect to all the parents dealing with tantrums in public spaces. It's stressful. You never know how to handle it. Just do your best. I don't know.
Do people go up to you and be like,
no,
yeah, that's you should take a belt to them?
No one has done that. Thank goodness.
May they never.
Yeah, I do. I shouldn't say this. I do sometimes judge kids or parents when I go to restaurants and their kids just immediately pull out an iPad or a phone, like immediately.
It's very easy to judge those parents.
But it's like
I do too. I'm like,
yeah, but I shouldn't judge them. Yeah. They're doing the best they can. They want to have a nice, peaceful dinner. They don't want anybody else to be disturbed in the restaurant because nobody else wants to go to a restaurant and be disturbed either. But I small judge them just a tiny bit. But it's easy for me to say because I'm like, well, I don't need to give my kids iPads at a restaurant, but maybe we'll get there.
I just leave them in the trunk.
Mind your manners or you get no food, children. You'll eat my scraps. All right. Yeah, I don't know. Do you know what's coming next? Actually, I don't know that anything's like right on the horizon.
Yeah, just WTF with Wes.
All right. And then Project Hail Mary. Go buy tickets. I think it's gonna be good.
Daredevil also season 2.
Oh, Born Again
comes out at the end of March.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll figure some things out.
We might be in a small lull here for a little bit, but we'll be back before you know it. All right, friends, we're out of here. Have a good one. Savon, hope you're doing good. We miss you, buddy.
Enjoy scratching your balls on the couch.
Notice I didn't call you the Chris Paul of the show during this show.
Is that you dunking on Chris Paul because he doesn't show up?
No, that's because you. That's DeAndre Ayton, by the way.
Oh, that works because Savon's also tall.
No, it's because when you and Savon did a show a couple of months ago without me, you guys called me the Chris Paul. You were like, "This is the man's the Chris Paul of our show," and I hate Chris Paul, so that was not a favorable comparison.
Hey, both of us like Chris Paul. I think I like Chris Paul.
Chris
He's
Paul
great.
Sucks.
Point guard.
He's a good player. He just sucks as a person. He punches
doesn't
people
matter.
in the nuts.
Whatever.
I mean, that was in college, so like that was a long time ago. He said,
happens.
"So what?" Okay, well, let him punch you in the nuts then.
No. Me and him don't exist on the same plane. It doesn't work that way.
So what, Brian? Get over it.
It doesn't work that way.
Your balls don't matter. All right, we're out of here. Have a good weekend. Later, buddy. Say hi to Uno for us. Bye.